you asked me, I remember, what's the difference between, or what is a visualization? What's the difference between a visualization and a hallucination? And really the only difference that could be brought up there is that one is willed and the other seems like it just emerges naturally. So do you feel, what are your thoughts on what that phenomena is when you're visualizing? How exactly does that have a power, force, and effect outside the body? And do you feel that is connected with a bioelectric field that is continuous from inside even to the outside of the body?
Well, the first thing about the Wim Hof and the breath work, I think that at its most basic, from my eyes, is that it induces an altered state of consciousness. So basically, in order to tap into some of these abilities, at least from everything that I've seen, it's all about inducing an altered state. It could be through breath work, it could be via hypnosis, could be via sound. There's different ways to get in an altered state, basically getting us out of our baseline, almost like getting us out of our head, if you want to go there. So that's where I feel like the importance of the breath work is, yeah, there's the cerebral spinal fluid and the blood flow and, the neurochemicals and maybe the endogenous DMT upregulation and things of that. But at its most basic for me, it's about getting out of your baseline. And then you can, I guess, tap into your imagination, and your imagination can actually come to life. So I think that one of the ways that I start people off in terms of the conversation of visualizations affecting things outside of the body is that you have to cite the data that cites all the studies talking about, the visualizations being able to affect your inner body, your hands or your feet or things like that. And there are dozens, if not hundreds of studies showing that during altered states of consciousness via hypnosis or meditation, biofeedback, that the human is very easily capable of doing this. I even have a meditation or a guided meditation that I put on YouTube about being able to warm your hand. And even people who don't meditate, they've got it. Like 9 out of 10 people have felt it on their first try. So to me, this is a very basic ability, and it's just not a very well-known ability, but it does seem like being in an altered state is important. So in order to, I guess, you have to segue people into these conversations, because once you start to talk about things like telepathy, then you start to kind of get the eye roll and people kind of start to try to move on to more comfortable topics. But, the way that I look at the visualizations being able to extend past the physical body, the mechanisms haven't been fully deciphered yet. I spoke with Bill Bankston. He's the president of the Society of Scientific Exploration. And he believes that it's almost like a coupling of our field, our bioelectric field, with a standing wave of the Earth's magnetic field. And then that field itself is, I guess, the conduit to transfer information or intent. But I definitely feel as though during altered states and visualizations, these things are not relegated to only our physical body. They can extend past the physical body. And I think that's some of the exciting things that we're going to be getting into in episodes down the line regarding DMT Quest, because, I think that this is part of endogenous DMT in terms of, if we had an upregulation of an endogenous DMT, and there's a probability that it allows sort of the biochemical foundation for our willed hallucinations or our visualizations, mental imagery, whatever you want to talk about it, come to life. And the implications of that are huge, right? I mean, in terms of warming your hand is not going to make or break the world, but, increasing blood flow or warming your pancreas if you have diabetes or pancreatic cancer, that might have some big implications, that might have some real big repercussions. So these are things that I'm definitely interested in exploring in the future.
Yeah, man. So yeah, one thing I would say is when you were saying breaking out a baseline consciousness in order to potentially like access what is dormant within us a little bit more. Especially Robin Carhart Harris, I think he was the one who, to first bring this up, but as the destabilizing the default mode network. And this has implications in people who have intractable depression, intractable anxiety, PTSD, OCD, all these things that are like, it feels chronic and you can't break away from it. And it's mental, emotional phenomena that keeps coming back. And psychedelics, breath work, as well as things like hypnosis, these are things that there is a lot of workout. I mean, a lot in some terms, a lot more than most people think. There is a lot of work out there that actually does show that these things, not only do they break us out of what's called default mode network, which is just it's a way the brain communicates with itself when it's ruminating. It's using a lot of energy, but it's just ruminating about like, what is blah 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 thinking about, or what am I going to do tomorrow? And that's default mode rumination, and psychedelics reliably breaks us out of it. Breath work reliably breaks us out of it. And there may be ways that we don't necessarily need to get too altered in order to access that. And so what I wanted to ask was, when you take people through this, is it just something that you're doing with the intellect, or is it super powered, or let's say charged up a little more? If you can get into like the visceral, I feel it, like I feel what's happening. I'm sure that that's got to be part of it. Like, feel your hand warming up. It's not just an intellectual or an analytical thing that we're doing, but it's matched with potentially emotion and feeling. Am I right by saying that?
Absolutely. At least from what I've walked people through and what I've seen, that's very key in inducing the effect. Uh, I've even seen some hypnosis studies where they verify that it's the depth of the visual imagery, not the depth of the trance state, that indicates the effect, the end effect of, like, your visualization or whatnot. So absolutely, it's about emotion. It's about really getting into it, right? A hallucination is not partial, right? It's like, go all the way into the hallucination. Like, I don't want you to like imagine your hand getting a little bit warm. I want you to imagine it being on freaking fire, like it's burning your hand. And and the effect takes place once they really get into it. And that's just it's a crazy thing to think about, that would even happen. But like I said, the data is out there if you care to look. So however it goes, it goes.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. And this isn't a question more than just kind of like something that I've been thinking about. So when you break out of default mode, your default mode network, a network that when we're in it, it's like I said, it's consuming a lot of our energy. We think we're at rest. We think that's relaxed, but it's actually consuming quite a bit of energy in our default mode. And I wonder if when we focus our attention, we're actually liberating a lot of that energy that's just being cycled and used for our rumination. And so breath work helps us break out of that. Psychedelics can help us break out of that. Hypnosis can help us break out of it. And I'm curious if that is the process of liberating energy, so there's more force and effect, but the visualizations give it the GPS or the compass. It tells it like kind of where to go, what to do. So you're liberating the energy and then focusing it for a certain end with your visualizations. Does that sound at least,
Yeah.
reasonable?
Absolutely. And I think that there's a study indicating even more precisely that a gamma upregulation or a gamma power surge takes place during those visualizations. And so they can kind of tell just by the brain activity whether a visualization kind of took place or not. So it's intriguing, man. There's more pieces of data coming out to go ahead and quantify these crazy concepts that we're bringing up. But it's good to see, man. It's just really about putting the whole puzzle together in a palatable manner and presenting it to the public in a way that they can digest it.
Make sure y'all head over to benjosephstewart.com, become a member. You'll have access to the growing library of deeper dives where I talk about all the stuff that I really can't talk about on YouTube. Make sure you get involved in the Discord chat. That's where a lot of the conversation is happening, talking about new theories, being able to interweave into the greater conversation that is how we awaken infinity. That's our highest potential. And I just want to remind you, you are the most powerful technology ever known to creation. Wield it like an artist with a conscience.